Hi, everybody. It is great to be here, and thank you so much for your time, and very much looking forward to this webinar. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about what the Aeon patch is, what it's designed to do, how you can benefit from it, and we're also going to be talking about Aeon in terms of what benefits you get today, and then the benefits you can receive with Aeon over the long term, because there are anti-aging and even age reversal benefits to Aeon. Some of these might surprise you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so of course, we're going to be talking about the Aeon patch. And we came up with this name Aeon in our marketing team at the time when we were trying to think about all the benefits that this product has and what would be a good name for it. So we were seeing that Aeon has the potential to extend not only our lifespan, but what we would refer to today as the health span. So in other words, if we want to live past age 100, that's great, but we don't want to look and feel like we're age 100. We want to look and feel as young as possible. So we wanted to encapsulate this idea, and so we came up with the name Aeon, that we can extend not only how long we live, but we can increase our health span as well, staying young and healthy in the process. So when we're thinking about anti-aging and we're thinking about how long it is that we're going to potentially live, we want to do this in a young, healthy, and vibrant state. When we talk about the subject of age reversal, that's actually a better term than anti-aging, because it encapsulates this idea that we want the energy in our cells to be just as youthful, as vibrant as when we're in our 20s and 30s. And we want to have a very healthy, productive lifestyle when we're 70, 80, 90, 100 years and beyond. I have a friend that owns a company in the healthcare industry. He's a business friend, and he just turned 76 recently. He's still doing 40 push-ups a day. He's still doing mountain climbing, and he's in phenomenal shape because he takes care of himself and he does all the right things. So this is the idea about what we're talking about here. Your mindset is absolutely critical to your success. So how you feel, how you think about aging can determine whether or not you succeed. Let's talk about a business for a moment. Let's say you're a LifeWave distributor and you want to go out and sell and market the patches. Do you have a plan to do that? If you have a plan and it's a good plan, you're going to be successful. If you try to manage your business without a plan, the likelihood of success decreases. Do you believe that you can be successful in your business? What type of income are you looking for, a part-time or full-time income? Do you believe you could earn $100,000, $400,000, $500,000 in a year? So the mindset has everything to do with what level of success you can achieve. The same is true about aging. There are very interesting studies which show that if you believe you are a certain age, your body becomes that. And you begin to show signs of being more youthful if you focus on being a younger age. So your mind, do not underestimate the power of your mind and your mindset. This is Dr. Lauren Dirac, and this is a picture, as you can see, from 2010. And while Aeon was designed for human beings, we've had many people apply them to animals, including myself. And this is a after picture after using the Aeon patch for 6 months. So we can see the difference here. This is purely anecdotal, of course, but what's going on? Well, many of the clinical studies that we've performed with our patches, such as Aeon, Energy Enhancer, Ice Wave, we will use medical infrared imaging. Many thanks here to Dr. Dean Clark, who did these studies, or the majority of those studies. And what happens with the Aeon patch is that we get a reduction in inflammation. So here are the before-after photos from this horse, and it's after about 20 minutes or so. And these red areas are going to be areas of inflammation. Of course, in the after photo, that's an area around the heart, so we would expect that area to be warmer. Actually, in human beings, about 60% of the energy that the heart consumes is used for heating the blood. We often think of the heart as a pump, but actually the majority of the energy is in warming the blood, which probably makes a lot of sense. But those other red areas in the before picture are inflammation that are obviously not healthy. And so we can see very, very rapidly that the Aeon patch, even the same patch used in humans, reduces inflammation in a horse. And obvious immediate benefits here. This is why for many years, when LifeWave members were building their business, they would start by applying the Aeon patch on the back of the neck. And within minutes, people would experience pain relief. I know many LifeWave distributors built their business just with Aeon and Ice Wave. Aeon is a wonderful complement to X39. Using this horse as an example, let's say there was an injury in the hind legs and we have this inflammation. If we apply the Aeon patch, we can reduce the inflammation. The stem cells are attracted to the sites of inflammation, but the inflammation will destroy the stem cells. So the idea is if we bring down the inflammation, we can prolong the life of the stem cells and they can do a better job. But we were talking about anti-aging, and we were also talking about the short-term and the long-term benefits of Aeon. So the short-term benefits are pretty obvious, right? So you apply the Aeon patch, it reduces stress on the nervous system, it triggers what we would call the primitive or innate immune system, and we get a reduction in inflammation. This in part occurs because of an increase in superoxide dismutase, SOD, which, like glutathione, is one of the primary antioxidants in the body. So we saw during our blood tests, Aeon elevates SOD, among other things. What does this all have to do with anti-aging, since the short-term benefits are so obvious? Another study that we did were on dogs, and this was a case where there was all these blue areas, very poor, impaired areas of circulation, and then within 20 minutes of using Aeon, we can see normalization. We did other tests which showed that this was in part due to a balancing of the autonomic nervous system. We did that clinical study with Drs. Tom and Helen Budzinski. This is critically important because when we think of the response of the immune system is intimately connected with our mental state. So if we're very calm and relaxed, our nervous system is balanced, and we'll have very little stress on our adrenal system, on our endocrine system. And if, however, we're in a state of emotional agitation, we're under stress, we go into fight or flight, then we go into what's called the sympathetic drive. Now maybe we get a shot of adrenaline, and if we get into a chronic state, maybe people are workaholics, they're under a lot of family stress, a lot of emotional stress. This will in turn lead to elevated levels of inflammation. Maybe it's short term, maybe it's longer term. But this has everything to do with the aging process, because if we're under a lot of emotional stress all the time, and this leads to chronic inflammation, that inflammation is going to damage healthy tissue, may cause breaks in DNA, and lead to chronic disease. So this is why tools such as meditation have been so valuable to people in improving the quality of health and the quality of their life and longevity. Many people don't have time to meditate, so fortunately, we have products like Aeon that can reduce stress in a very natural way. So this is what we talk about when we're talking about balancing the autonomic nervous system relative to the aging process. This is one way to think about it. Interestingly, we don't want the nervous system to be too relaxed. This problem can occur when people get too much sleep, for example. Having healthy stress is good. So, for example, fasting, when we can fast for, let's say, 16 hours. The rules are going to be a little bit different for women than they would be for men. But let's say you engage in a system of periodic fasting. That would be a healthy stress that we're going to put on our body. Our body will adapt to this healthy stress, and it's going to improve immune function. And even it's going to alter gene expression in a very healthy way. Another example of healthy stress would be exercise. So we go and exercise, we're going to be breaking down or having tears in muscle tissue. Our body has to respond. We end up making our heart, lungs, muscles stronger. And this, of course, is going to contribute to health and longevity. Now, we want to be in a relaxed state, but paradoxically, if we're too relaxed, and we would be in what's called a parasympathetic drive, if we're too relaxed, then this can actually depress the effects of the immune system. I remember reading once about Mariah Carey, and that she would like to sleep for 12 or 13 hours a day. This is going a little bit too extreme. 8 hours, 9 hours per day on the outside is great for sleep. But if we sleep too long, we can actually depress the immune system, and that, of course, is not going to be good. Okay, so when we're looking at this, we can say, okay, it makes sense that inflammation and aging are connected, but we want to go a little bit further and understand the cause of aging, so that ultimately someday what we can have is a treatment for aging and a reversal of the aging process. And at LifeWave, in our research, that's what we work on. We work at looking at practical technologies that people can afford that will eventually lead to age reversal. And X39 is really our first big step in that direction. So we have to have a theory. We need to have a model for aging. And there are many different theories that are out there. Some of them have been proven or disproven up to this point, and every scientist, they have their own perspective on this. Some scientists believe that we live and die by the telomeres. So the telomeres are rods which are on the ends of the chromosomes, and as the cells divide, the telomeres get a little bit shorter. And eventually, when the telomeres are gone, our cells can no longer divide. This is called the Hayflick limit, and it happens when we're about 75. So without question, if we can keep the cells dividing, we can extend longevity, but we also have to make sure that the cells that are dividing are younger, healthier cells. There's also this idea, this is one idea Aubrey de Grey can talk about, is that there's an accumulation of damage, and that if we could use natural materials or drugs to reduce or remove damaged cells that occur in the body, we can stop and reverse aging. Now, there are a number of ways to remove damage that has accumulated over time. One of them I've already mentioned, which is fasting. Fasting helps to facilitate the process of removing dead cells from the body. So that's one way that fasting can help. There is a naturally occurring material called fisetin. Fisetin is found naturally in peppers, although I don't believe that there's enough in peppers for you to see an anti-aging effect, so supplementation might make sense. But fisetin has some interesting research around it, and it may be a inexpensive, natural way to help the body remove damaged cells and extend life. We'll have to see how the research plays out with this. But for now, I would definitely, for most people, recommend fasting. There was a theory that there was about aging, which is the aging clock theory. So in other words, we're basically programmed to age and then die. This is one way to look at it. Certainly what we could say is that gene expression changes over time. And this is, in a way, our internal clock. So with X39, one of the things that we see is that it's a very powerful peptide that's capable of resetting thousands of genes back to a younger, healthier state, about 1/3 of our genome. So imagine if we can design patches that will reset 100% of our genes back to a younger, healthier state. That would be amazing. Now, fortunately, when we talk about the subject of age reversal, it's not science fiction. It used to be, but we have so many examples in nature where living organisms on this planet today live to be incredibly long. So, for example, if we wanted to look at way the upper end, there is a glass sponge that lives to be 12,000 to 15,000 years old. We know trees can live to be thousands of years. But we want to look at what are some examples of living organisms that might show us a key to how we can live longer. And for many of you, this is going to be a huge surprise. So stick around for a few more minutes, and you're going to find out what that is. The queen bee can live 60 times longer than the worker bee. And longtime LifeWave members may have heard me talk about this before. For those of you that haven't, you're in for a pleasant surprise. So the queen bee lives 60 times longer than the worker bee. Okay. So I was at a party And this will give you a little bit of clue into my social life, which is rather boring because I like to go to parties with scientists. And I was at a party with all these doctors and scientists, and one of the doctors there was talking about an experiment he did. And he took a worker bee and he injected the worker bee with a peptide, and the worker bee, after one injection, lived 5 to 6 times longer. Not the 60 times that the queen bee would live, but after just one injection, that's absolutely remarkable. So what he had done was he had figured out why the queen bee lives so much longer than the worker bee. They're virtually identical. So what's the difference? It's in the food. The queen bee consumes royal jelly. So royal jelly, you could say, is a type of honey. The honey is the basic food. There's also the propolis, which is antimicrobial, which protects the honey. But there's the royal jelly, which is the special form of honey, and it has peptides in it, one specifically, that will allow the queen bee to have these extraordinary lifespans. And nature has found a way. The question is, can we as human beings benefit from this? Well, believe it or not, we make this peptide, and it's made in our liver. And but when we get to about age 30, the production of this peptide begins to decline. And so we're not able to get the longevity benefits out of it. Now, what this doctor found was that in order to get the benefits of this peptide, you had to give people 300 grams per day, and the peptide had to be delivered over a period of 20 hours. And it would cost about $50,000 per month. So this is obviously something that no one is going to do. Here's the good news. I designed the Aeon patch to elevate this peptide. So when we see these extraordinary benefits with Aeon in terms of managing inflammation, that's the secret. We see this in organisms that live to be hundreds of years old, that they have perfect control over their inflammation and their oxidative stress. There's other things going on as well, but that's one of the secrets. So fortunately, you don't need to eat massive amounts of royal jelly all day. You can simply wear the Aeon patch and manage your inflammation. Okay. So a couple facts here about the aging process. And these are important because we can find solutions to each one of these things by breaking these things down. We know that aging is associated with a decrease in the amount of energy that's produced in the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. So a product like Energy Enhancer and X39 help to support proper energy production in the mitochondria. We have other products that will be coming in the future that take this into another generation. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. We've done many studies, clinical studies with electrointerstitial scanning, and we find that with products like Aeon and carnosine, that it helps to support healthy function of our organs. We know that the aging process is associated with a state of dehydration. And when we want to have a healthy amount of energy production in the cell, we need to drink lots of water. And we also we need to drink water to facilitate detoxification. We also know that when you get a decrease in the function of the mitochondria, that the ability to synthesize new proteins, processed nutrients decreases. Okay, we don't have to go through each of these. You're kind of getting the idea, but aging, while it's very complicated, we can distill the problem down into a number of simple components, and this gives us a way to address aging. Now, here's something interesting about aging relative to when we're speaking about stress, and this is a quote from Dr. Deepak Chopra, and it's when you, in his book, Ageless Body, Timeless Mind, he was referring to experiments that were done on mice where you give them electric shocks. After a few days, the mice die, and they die from the stress. What's remarkable is that this stress resembles accelerated aging. So exactly what we've been talking about. You put an organism under stress. It increases the oxidative stress and the inflammatory stress. This damages the healthy tissue, and this will lead to aging. So a good defense against aging is management of inflammation. Now, inflammation is healthy. In other words, when we get an injury, let's say that you bang your knee and you get inflammation, that's a good thing because the inflammation is needed to remove that old damaged tissue. And we want to get the stem cells now to repair the injury and replace it with healthy cells, right? But if we're in a chronic state of inflammation, this is going to damage the cells, damage the DNA, and we're going to grow older faster. So it's critically important that we get control over the inflammatory process and we get control over stress. So we want to incorporate into our lives the ability to relax, get proper sleep, do activities that promote relaxation, healthy stress like exercise, eating properly, spending time with loved ones, and do what we can to avoid stress. And of course, use a product like Aeon to make this easier. And of course, chronic stress leads to alterations in the function of our immune system. And of course, that's not good. So here are, this is from Life Extension magazine, and they have a couple of references here on how inflammation can be correlated to a number of different health disorders. So for example, when we take the inflammatory marker homocysteine, we can see that it is correlated to heart disease. As a matter of fact, genetically, people of Chinese descent can have an increased risk of heart disease because they're predisposed to elevated levels of homocysteine. Okay, I think you're getting the idea here. Stress will increase inflammatory markers, cortisol, create changes between the balance of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, lead to damage of DNA, etc. So what's a simple way to explain how the Aeon patch is working? We can look at this cycle here where we start with stress. And interestingly enough, this could be physical or emotional. Let's say we get some stress on the body, it's an injury. It's a physical injury. Use the same example, we bang our knee. This is going to lead to the production of oxidative chemicals. Now, this is actually a good thing because that can, when we have oxidation, that will depress the formation of bacteria, a bacterial infection. And this gives rise to inflammation, and the inflammation is there to tear down the damaged tissue. The inflammatory cytokines signal the stem cells. Now the stem cells can come in and repair the damage. If we don't have control over the inflammatory process, this gets into a chronic state. It can lead to disease like arthritis. We get not only damages of our cells and our DNA, but this could lead to damage on a macro level with the organs and accelerated aging. So the Aeon patch interrupts this process by elevating SOD and other compounds. By balancing the autonomic nervous system, we reduce stress, so we prevent increases in inflammatory markers. And in people that already have elevated inflammation, this starts to bring down the inflammation and get it under control. We did a number of clinical studies on the Aeon patch and found some pretty remarkable results. We did blood, urine, saliva testing. We did a variety of bioelectrical tests. We did medical infrared imaging. And here are some of the things that we found. DHEA, which is the fountain of youth hormone, we found increases when people use the Aeon patch. So when we're talking about the queen bee living 60 times longer than the worker bee, if we were to correlate that into human beings, we'd say we see decreases in DHEA with age. So if we had something that could elevate it, we can potentially increase our health span as well as our lifespan. We saw also increases in glutathione, increases in SOD, and importantly, a broad spectrum of decreases in different inflammatory markers. As you already saw, the medical infrared imaging that we did showed systemic decreases in inflammation. So just like X39, you apply the Aeon patch on the body and you see decreases in inflammation throughout the body. Dr. Tom and Helen Budzinski, Dr. Budzinski, when he was alive, was extraordinarily well known. When in his testing, he found that within 10 seconds, the Aeon patch began to balance the nervous system, leading to a reduction in stress. We showed that after 4 weeks of using the Aeon patch, that the bioelectrical response in the organs had improved. We did a study with Dr. Carl Merritt and Dr. Gaetan Chevalier on biophoton emission. And we showed that when you use the Aeon patch, it improves the coherence of the cells. This is incredible because as we age, the body goes from a state of coherence to incoherence. The structure of the cells begins to break down, and Aeon can help pull the cells into a better state of coherence. So this is an age reversal effect. And this is an example of a study that we had done on people, again, showing how we can reduce inflammation very, very rapidly within 20 minutes of using our patches. So the bottom line with all of this is that you're going to get both short-term and long-term benefits with the Aeon patch. Most people that use it, let's say you have someone that's in pain, they have inflammation, in as little as the first few minutes to first 20 minutes, you'll experience a reduction in pain and inflammation. This, of course, leads to an improvement in energy and an overall improvement in health and vitality. Because we're increasing antioxidants in the body within the first 30 days, and we did a study that went out to 90 days, we see improvements in the quality of the skin. There's obviously immediate benefits to reducing stress. There's benefits within the first 30 days of improving how your organs are functioning. And then, of course, there's the long-term anti-aging benefits. The beauty of all this, for such a powerful product, it's incredibly simple to use. Put it behind the neck, below the belly button, put it on the point of pain. It's going to work no matter what. So, Emily, this is all to say that while the Aeon patch now has been around for 10 years, it's still as powerful today as it was back then, and enormous number of benefits. And in fact, to me, the ideal combination, if people were only going to use 2 of our patches, the ideal combination would be X39 and Aeon for all of those reasons.